In service on dementia. Today what we're going to look at is a couple different things. We're going to be looking at the uh-ohs and ahas, which is why I have it on your little form there, of when you're dealing with a person. So when you see something new or learn something new about the person, an aha is like, okay, this is what I can do different. So that's what I mean, if you would, in my little evaluation, on the little form, if you see something that you thought was an uh-oh or an aha, write it down and that lets me know how I'm doing. This is a training based on from a company called Positive Approach to Care that actually deals, trying to help caregivers deal with the person that they're living with, so that that person both is given the best support and the best care so that they do well. So we use there's a GEMS view that we're going to talk about a little bit that explains different levels of dementia. So in a quick review, we're going to talk the things that we know about dementia. And so there's basically, oh, there's my sheet. Okay. With dementia, basically dementia is when at least two parts of the brain are dying. It is not a temporary thing. It is chronic. It is progressive. It is terminal. And it is, at least, I said the two parts of the brain, yeah, and it can't be fixed. It can't be fixed. Sometimes, when people are worried about dementia and they worry about getting a diagnosis, you want them to get a diagnosis early because maybe it's something like your medications are off whack or something that's systematically off. But once you have a diagnosis, it is a chronic condition that you'll live with the rest of your life and eventually die with it if you don't die from something else. People live with dementia anywhere from 5 to 20 years. So there are many different kinds of dementia. And what happens is that it affects the brain chemically, and then it affects the structure of the brain. So sometimes the chemicals are not working, so the person can't, one day can be doing okay, and the next day they won't be able to do what they could do the day before. Maybe in the morning they're great. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they've used all their energy, whatever they're doing, they don't function as well. So sometimes it'll work, it's fritzy. It's like, I was thinking of you have a lamp that doesn't have a good connection. Some days it's good and other days it's not. That's kind of what you're thinking about. But eventually it becomes a chronic change. And then if when we did this before, if you look on the company website, there's pictures of the brain that, there's big holes. And the person is doing the best they can with what they have. The parts that are affected, and we think about it, and it's important to kind of remember, there's different parts of the brain that are affected. So I'm going to have you do some stuff just as a kind of way of remembering it. So, and we're going to look at the senses and how they're affected because that affects the way people respond to what we do. So, back of your head. Touch the back of your head. You guys are all doing this because this is the part of your brain that when your eyes process information, it gets processed, it goes back to the back of the brain, and that's where it gets processed. Okay? Now go to the middle up here. This is your sensory motor strip. This is where a lot of when you feel and touch, this is where a lot of that's processed. Go to here. Temporal lobes. This is where language is processed for the most part. In dementia, the brain kind of goes through changes in a systematic way. Alzheimer's, a kind of dementia, and many others, it'll affect the left side of your brain before the right side of your brain. So the left side of your brain is the part that processes both, understands language, comprehends, and then produces language. Hears it, figure out what it is, and then produces what you're saying. So that's why a lot of times people they're not able to speak very clearly, but they can swear, because this part of the brain that works out here, so they retain on the right side of your brain, you tend to retain rhythm, music, prayers and poems, swear words, racial slurs. So you retain, so that's why sometimes when some of our residents will use words that they never ever would have ever used when everything was healthy. They're doing the best they can, but this is the part of the brain that's functioning, so this is what they can say when they're feeling mad. They can't say, I'm mad at you, they can say, bitch. So it's kind of what you want to know. So, and that's an important thing, because in the long run we need to know that they're doing the best they can, and it's not necessarily a personal thing. Okay, so that's real important. Okay, go, and then this is, I'm using some of the cues that she does, but go deep inside your brain. Go like this, but don't hurt yourself. Okay, inside of your brain, way toward the center are the two parts that are really important in what we're doing. One is called the hippocampus, and then that's a part of the brain where short-term memories are brought in, processed, and taken and stored to the rest of the brain. And that's one of the early parts that we see is affected by a lot of dementias. That's why people don't remember what we tell them. So that's why sometimes, there are some people, you tell them 1 second, and the next second it's not there. It doesn't get processed into that working memory or into their long-term memory.
I think we all get that.
So and somehow, and then the other part that you want to remember is the amygdala, and that's the part of the brain that is like your thrive to survive part of your brain, and that's the part that controls thirst, hunger, and it also works on that fight or flight response. So you hear this, so if a person is startled, it's like whoop, they're startled, okay. Then they want to. Then this is how you can remember it. So you go whoop. Go ahead. Whoop. Back like this. Whoo! I don't like it. Like that's fright, and then fight. So that the next thing they'll do is they'll fight, or they'll whack you, or they'll run away. But or they want it now. They want that change right now. So that's fight, or flight. You got that right? Fright, flight, fight. Okay. So that becomes important when we go back to the next part. We're going to talk about some sensory changes. This is a review from what we talked about before, but I'm going to go over it again. As people go through dementia, they have sensory changes. So this is for those of us who are, normally aging. So everybody look straight ahead and put your hands out like this. Okay. As best you can with a friend. You can go like this. Okay. Well, what you're trying to do is start to bring your fingers in and see where you see them wiggling. Okay, so I'm a little older than some of you, and my fingers are wiggling up here. So the vision that I can pay attention to, my peripheral vision is kind of in this range. So I now, as a 50-year-old, am starting to trip over things. Okay, but when you have people who have dementia, as it progresses, it comes into this. All right. So then you start to go like this. So this is what a person can pay attention to. Doesn't mean they can't turn and see. But this is what they can pay attention to. So, somebody comes in that door and I'm looking over here at the back, I'm not going to see them coming in. All right? And that may startle me. Fight. Okay, so I might get a reaction. So then I already get basically my system set up already to fight and flight. Then something else goes on, and then that keeps getting hyped up by the reactions and the sounds around. So then the next person comes in, and I don't see them, and I start to do something like, hi, and I startle, then you might get, whoop, you're going to get a kind of response that you don't really want. Okay? So it kind of explains some of why we're going to do some of the things we're going to be doing when we do this in a minute. The hearing, the actual ability to hear, doesn't change much. But the ability to comprehend language changes hugely. So a person in early stage dementia is going to lose 1 out of every 4 words that you say. So they'll get the context of what you're saying, but if you think about every 4 words being gone out of a sentence, you lose a lot of what the important part is. Later on, you're talking to somebody who's mid to late stage, and we're going to talk about the stages. They're going to sound like this, and they're not going to hear it, but they'll think I'm saying something nice. And I really like the little, they might be able to pick that up, but they might not be able to hear what I'm saying. So they see the language, they hear the rhythm, they hear the tone, they see my face, they see my body language. They'll be able to figure out what you want, but they don't always understand exactly what you're saying. So it becomes important to not talk too much. To speak simply and use a lot of visual and verbal cues. Now, we're going to think about, people are going to keep the skills that they have. So one of the first and strongest skills we have, and this is we're going to do this, go like this. Yay. Okay, this is your visual skill. This is how you see things, you look around. This is the strongest and one of the earliest primitive, one of the first skills we retain. You think about a little kid trying to hit those things in the crib, and they finally figure out, they look at it and they figure it out, they finally whack it, and then they can do things. That's one of your first ones. We learn language, but the thing that doesn't, but that changes. So we have visual, verbal, okay. This is how we tell things, we kind of alert things. If I'm looking at this with a verbal, if I'm over here and you're looking ahead and I hear a sound, you're going to look towards me. So that alerts you to your visual cue. But you're still going to, this is still your primary. Your third one is your touch, your sensory touch. Here. Okay? And here's the thing, if I just said that people lost their ability to understand language, if you try to talk to them without making sure that they know what you're doing, and then you touch them first, you're gonna get that. Okay? Because people are gonna respond negatively if they don't see what you're doing, you're gonna get that fight, flight, or fright. Okay, so, other things about dementia. Dementia is at least two parts, I said 2 parts of the brain are dying. It's chronic, it's progressive, it'll get worse, and it's terminal. So people die of dementia. It's not something that they kind of are, okay with. They go through a series of, and then if they live long enough with it and don't get caught by something else, there's kind of a progression they go through. It changes everything over time. The person who they were, what they did, how they did things, where everything was is going to change. It's not anything that they can control. They're doing the best they can with what they've got. We want them to do better. We really are caregivers, we want them to do the best they can, but they're doing the best they can with what they have left. Each person is different. So if you have dementia and you have dementia and you have dementia, it's going to be very different. Because everyone has a number of different things that it does. But it's a really difficult thing for the caregivers and the family that loves them, including the caregivers are here, who we work with people and we're with people every day. And we see them change. Now, on your handout, there's a couple of things. I'm going to try to go over. We said that people progress through this, right? So, on the handout that looks kind of, this is a very wordy description. If you'd like, to read things that are really wordy, and there's more here. Anybody need? Okay. Two and two.
I'm sorry, you're on here.
You need another one? All right. So look, the one is really wordy. If you're a person that likes to really read, that's a really good description. The one that's on the back is simpler. Okay. The Stephen Snow, when she designed this thing, most of the ways that they talk about dementia is you're like mild, moderate, or severe. Your end stage, your early stage. They use numbers. This was to use a visual way to represent where the person is and show value. So she thought of gems. Okay, so gems are like in the right setting, you give them the right care, they shine. So, and it helps us to describe what we're seeing with each person. So when you can say to a person, they're acting like this, when we're caregivers, then you can notice change. And then we can look at it. So sapphires. Sapphires are people who are normally aging. Okay, normally aging, they can still learn, they're still flexible, they still want to, they're still doing things. A person who's normally aging may work slower. So the example is, if you are 20 and you try to show me how to use a computer, I will be slower. And it will take me more time, and I will have to read through the process, but I'll get it, I'll learn it. And so that's, you're faster, your wiring is really fast and sharp, and you don't have as much on your brain as maybe somebody who's an older person. But that's a person who's a sapphire. They're normally aging. It's normal to take a little time to do things. It's normal to need to process a little bit more. It's normal to need to write notes. It's normal, and it's really important to remember, to have to remember, you can't remember all the things that you could remember before. Okay, so a lot of people worry, when you get to be 50, you start to see the changes, and you start to notice it, and it gets frustrating. That's normal, okay? It's really important to know. But when people start to have dementia, what they're going to use is, and the next gem she's going to use is a gem called a diamond. So, how is a diamond formed? Anybody know?
Triangle.
Say what?
It's like a triangle.
No. Yeah, it's a very sharp gem, but it's actually made by lots of pressure in the earth. Lots and lots of pressure. The thing about this is, we can talk about it as a dementia stage, but we can talk it as a normal person under stress. So, any of us can be diamonds. Any of us can be inflexible when we're under pressure. Any of us can be nasty and sharp with people under pressure. Any family member coming in and having brought their family member in, and because they promised them they'd keep them at home, and they can't keep them anymore because their behavior is so bizarre and they can't rest. They're under pressure. They will snap. They are diamonds. what can you do about a person, the thing that's nice about a person who is normally aging or under pressure, when that pressure is off, they're no longer a diamond. But a person who has dementia remains a diamond. They can't change. So that's what you're looking for. They're the people that will call the administration if something's wrong. They are money is very important to them. Keeping track of things, keeping things on schedule and just such and such a way, very important to them. Because that's how they maintain things. But the problem with a diamond is when you, like, their sister may say, she's fine. We had lots of conversations about home. She can talk about everybody. The next person says, you know what, she's confused and she's not able to do it. So a diamond can kind of cover it up pretty well. And everybody knows a diamond has problems. Okay, all right. The next one, emeralds. Emeralds are green stones. It has a natural flaw. They no longer can hide it. Those are the people, like they want to go, they want to be involved, they want to be busy, they want to be doing, but they don't know they're doing it not doing it well. They can't see there's a problem. They can't cover up it, so if they get confused about what day of the week it is, they're not even aware enough to cover it up. You can see it. It's out there. And they're the people that are kind of that we start to see when they're going, well, there's a problem. Huh. And they're out in the community, and they're living, and they're able to function a lot of times with supports. That's an emerald. They start to tell, like you have that, they need help, like their care is kind of slipping, they're not taking care of themselves as well, they're losing things, they take a long time to learn something new. Their language is very vague. Oh, I'm going to get that thing over there, and then I'm going to do that. They're not clear in what they're saying, they've lost that ability. Okay. They are trying to hide it up. They don't want people to know that they're messing up, but they can't hide it. So that's another thing. Okay, and so think about now while you're thinking, is there someone that you've worked with in this building who is emerald? Some of the people that wander through, they're able to come and they're able to do things, but they're kind of confused, and if you give them a cue, they're able to go on. They're emeralds. Ambers, the next one. Ambers are like the next, the caution light on your stoplight. They are, they're not really a gem. They're made from sap, and something gets stuck in it and it gets coated, okay? They're all about sensation. They're the people that are going through and picking things up and touching things. They really don't know how it really works anymore, but they're just kind of going, this is really cool, and I'll just open this up and I'll pull it apart and break things and take things apart. They're busy. They have no safety, they've lost their ability to have safety awareness. So they're no longer safety. They're the people that you're getting up and you're going, don't do that. Where's your walker? What are you doing? They're the people that you really can't, and they're not aware that there's a problem. Okay. Sometimes they're the people that withdraw, that you won't see out. Sometimes they're the people that are out in the middle of things and they love it. And they're, like I said, they're the people that start to be brought here because they can no longer be cared for at home. Because they're up all night, they're up all day. They're moving wherever they're going. They're in this, they're playing in their pants. They're doing anything that doesn't seem to be right because they're no longer aware that it's a wrong thing to do. Rubies, the next one, are getting towards what they used to call like severe dementia. They're the people that no longer can figure out how to use a utensil, how to pick up a fork. Like they can pick up a sandwich, but they can't use the utensil. They can't really write the same way anymore. If you're doing marching movements, they can see it, but if you try to get them to do small things, they can't figure out what you're doing. When we started to talk about this vision, so then we have early dementia. I skipped a stage. If you're going back into the ambers, go like this. Go like this. Go like this. Okay. All right. So you can see, when you're looking at ambers, you can see what's right ahead of you, right? Can you see what's behind, on the side of you, what's behind you, right? You can't see what you were before. If I come up and hang out at you like in this, right? Am I like in most of your field of vision? Can you see much else but me? Mm-hmm. Is it really comfortable? Mm-hmm. No. All right. So that's true, and that's true because that's what they're able to pay attention to. They can pay attention to what's in front of them and what's down here, so they can see social vision and past vision. So these are the people that I'm sitting at the table and I'm reaching somebody else's table and getting their food because I don't see mine in front of me, I just see that. So they got that. So it gets even smaller. The next stage, the ruby, go like this, and just cover and close the other eye and open one eye. So you got the eye that, you're looking through, it's a monocular. Okay. So if I look, if a monocular vision, what you're going to try to do, if you're doing this, you don't really quite know. Try to touch my hand.
Well, I
With-
can't shut my eye.
I can do it like this. Can you do that? Sorry. Still issue. Try it now. So the eye that you're open, try to touch my finger.
To get the pearl.
Oh my God. Okay? Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Okay. When you try to think about trying to touch the floor and how far it is to the floor. Think about the people that are down there reaching for something. They see something, they don't know exactly what it is, but they're bending over and they're either from their walker or from their wheelchair because they've lost their depth perception. They can only see the dominant one eye. Both eyes are working, and if you test them, both eyes will work. This is the only eye that can really pay attention to. That's at the end, that's in the Ruby stage. Okay? So you think about how you're giving care. If a person is in the end stage and they can only see this and I'm approaching from a side they can't see, I can startle them. I can get the fight and the flight. So that's it, what they visually can do, and then if you remember, they can't understand the words that I'm saying. They can see what I'm pointing to. If I say I want you to, yeah. She'll follow something. She'll follow what I got her attention, and she'll follow what my vision is doing. But if I said, pick up that, get kind of like it, then you would know, no, I'm just butter. So that's kind of what you're looking at. Those are the people that can move forward and can't back up to the toilet. They can't do that anymore. Okay, but they do respond to rhythming. So when you're trying to help a person get up, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, they'll respond better to the language. Okay, because they'll hear the rhythm, not so much the words. So then they'll get that because we retain that. Okay, and they depend on us to do it. The last one is Pearl, and this is kind of, when she picked Pearl, okay, again, a pearl is, you know, anybody see the outside of what a pearl comes out of? What does it look like? It comes in a really, 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 really ugly shell, covered with gook, okay? If you open up a pearl, if you try to get that pearl out there, it clams shut. So when we're giving care and we try to move too fast, that person will cry out because it's painful. They can't, and they will close down. You will not get the kind of help you want. But with the approach of this person, if you approach slowly, calmly, with touch, to let them know what you're doing, they'll open up for a moment and you'll see them as the person that they were. But it's a short-lived time and they go back. But we spend so much time trying to take care of the shell, the contractures, the range, the turning, whatever we need to do, that we kind of lose track of the time to take care of the person that's still there, that's still of value. So that's kind of the jumps, all right? So it becomes important that when you are dealing with the different levels that you need to know where they're at and how they interact. So you talk to a sapphire or a diamond, and there's a problem that's going on. One of the important words to say, and you're going to practice with your neighbor, is saying, "I'm sorry, that shouldn't have happened." Try that.
I'm sorry.
You're not saying, "No, the aides didn't show up, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that." I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that you're upset. I'm sorry that this happened to you. You're just saying, "I'm sorry." And then they can hear you, and then they can come de-escalate and come down. This is true, remember, for diamonds, not just for our residents, but family members, family at home, co-workers who are under stress. It's true for all of us, okay? Now, the next thing that you want to do is on that other handout, the idea of this approach that we're talking about, okay, is that there's a way to approach a person that becomes really useful. All right, so first thing you're going to practice is we're going to talk about space. Now we talked about being aware of the differences, right? So if we're here, I'm going to use you because you're in a good spot. I can talk, and I don't know your name.
Liz.
Liz? Okay. Liz, I'm going to say I'm from this. I'm a public distance firm. We're like about this far apart. I can talk, and we can talk about things, and I'm not really in her space, right? If I wanted to maybe do care or wanted to get a little bit more personal, what I might do is say, "Hi, Liz, how are you doing?" And I might go like this. Now, See what she did? She's nice. She reached out. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to turn my hand like this. And I'm going to come and sit and talk like this. Okay? And I might say, you know, like I said, I like the purple. Those were the shoelaces too. Get it together. All right, so I'm going to be able to talk. And I'm hoping you're a right-handed person. Okay, because I'm on her right side. It's a more comfortable thing to do. I can talk to her and we can share whatever we need to do. And it's not in that confrontational space. I'm not filling up her whole field of vision, and it's safe. If she was upset and I came up to her and she was really angry, I might do the same thing. I might come up from this far and I would say, listen, I see you're really upset. You know, are you okay? And then I might say, all right, I might try to do the same thing. Can I talk to you? And I might go like that. If she says, no, okay, I'm going to stay here. But I might kind of come out here and say, you know, you're really upset. I see you're, you know, can you tell me better? You know, I can just reflect her feelings. I'm not getting into her space. Because if I got into her space and she was really upset and I kept going, oh, it's okay, you know, you don't love, she's just going to go bing. Okay? Because I'm not listening to her. I'm pushing into space before she's ready. Right? So that becomes a real big skill that you want to do, especially when we have residents who are upset. We want to be able to back up and kind of approach them so that they can see us, not have diarrhea of the mouth, not talk too much, because they can't really comprehend it. But if we say simple, keep it simple, they will be able to understand both the rhythm and what we're doing. So that's actually the positive. Now the other thing is about this. So if I look at it, it goes come from the front so they can see it. Stop 6 feet out. Say hi. And when I'm doing it, I'm not going like this. I'm going hi. Because remember, I want them to pay attention to this in my face. And I want them to see my hand come out so they can follow it. You start to do this with the people who are diamonds and sapphires, so when they progress through the stages, it's a comfortable thing for them. So you're not saying, I'm just going to do this for the people who are, you know, emerald and rubies or ambers. I'm going to do this early on. But where it changes is when I go and I'm going to go help her to eat. And I'm sitting on her right side because she's right-handed, and since she was 2 years old, she's been using, 1-year-old, using her hand to eat. This is a motion that's comfortable. If I work over here, and I was sitting with her, and I'm going to go, there we go. Okay. If she has trouble holding a spoon, I can work with her, and she can tell me when she's willing to eat and when she's willing not to. Does that feel comfortable? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I can also do things like if you're doing person, are you again? You're such a good person. Okay. If I'm doing things, it's the same thing. If we come like this and I come around and I come around to her side, and we're going to turn this way. Okay. I can help her walk this way. I can guide her so she knows where I am. If I want to do personal care, I can say, let's change your pants. She can see what I'm doing. She can see where I'm going. I'm not reaching into her space before she's ready. And if she's an amber, this area is more sensitive. This area is more sensitive than the other parts of her body. More responsive to things. So it's important that she has a guidance when you're doing this. If I'm going to have her guide, I'm going to go, you want to go sit? Okay, so we're going to go here. Okay. And when I go turn, she's going to find it. Now, I should have slowed down a little so she can see the chair. Okay? And I'm going to go like this, you got it? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to sit down. So I'm using my body for her to see where I'm going. So if you're going to sit somebody on the toilet, instead of that, they don't understand that going backwards, you're not pulling them, then they see where you're going. So it's kind of a nice, how'd it feel? Not so good. Right. Yeah, all right. So
Not too pushy.
Right, and that's the thing, we're trying to avoid going into their space before they're ready to let us. And you have to have that personal relationship, that contact, before they'll let you come in. And that's a right that they have. Okay, go slow, get on the side, yeah. All right, and then wait. The other thing I started to say is, go back, I'm going to say another thing. A lot of times it's really hard to wait for our residents to do the thing that they need to do, because remember, your wiring is fast. Wiring, as people get older, slows down, even the functional who are doing well. So if you're young, try to count to 3. 1, 1,002, 1,003, and see if you get the response that you're looking for. Okay? Because sometimes we say to people they don't, take your shirt off, for changing. And they're not doing it. Okay? So I'm like, then you're ready to help them.